and welcome to another edition of the Space Weather! We're looking at the sun in 304 angstroms here. And we do see a little bit of activity kicking off. There's a filament dancing around down there in the south, and so far it's still attached to the sun. We see no Earth-facing coronal mass ejections at this point. You see this filament down here. Let me zoom in on that. You can see that filament jumping around there. That could release at any moment. Also, this spot right here is a cycle 25 plage. You can tell by the polarity. We'll show you at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Here's the 193 angstroms view. Massive coronal hole right in the Earth-facing region as earthquake risk reaches its maximum. And yeah, very well-defined coronal hole. Slightly associated with the North Pole, slightly north of the equator. X-ray flux is totally flatlined, and by the way, 10.7 centimeter radial flux is all the way down to 64, which is, I believe, the lowest we've ever reported it on this channel. Here's a real-time solar wind. And we do see some missing data in the geospace magnetosphere movies. We'll show you that in a moment. Phi angle currently at 226 degrees. Solar wind density around 5 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed at about 350 kilometers per second. So no significant uptick in the solar wind data yet. And let's go to the missing data. Here's the magnetosphere movie, and I would say 4 hours worth, but check this out. Right here, you're going to see the timestamp jump from 6 to 8. Right there. 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So 2 hours of missing data there. That's why it looks so weird. And we see the same data loss in the ground delta B. Show you that after this. And there's that missing data. It looks like a global pulse there that just comes in out of nowhere, but it's really just missing data, folks. Right from 6 to 8. So 2 hours of missing data there. There's the rest of it. Let's move on to some more stuff. Again, 10.7 centimeter radial flux all the way down to 64. Legit solar minimum conditions. As forecasted, we see a little bit of weakness in the GOES magnetometer. No surprises there. And this is going to spike up in the next day. We should see some more sawtooth type patterns in this. And here's why. It's the Gong 2 data. This data 1 hour and 16 minutes old. We're getting to another current sheet polarity crossing zone. We're going to see a small uptick in the GOES magnetometer readings here as we see this dense plasma region. That's that filament that's on the south of the sun, most likely. And it's affecting the magnetism, so be keeping an eye on that filament throughout the day today. And let's move on to more stuff. We don't see any charging hazards. KP is at 0 for the last 6 hours. And there's a bit of an electron shortage going on lately. This dip in the electron flux not a direct result of a coronal hole wind stream, just low activity, depleting the electrons. Greater than 2 mega electron volt fluence at actually fairly low levels here. And here's the 6 hours of the ionosphere, courtesy Government of Australia. Bureau of Meteorology. If you're wondering what the coffee contains, it's strong organic dark roast made in a French press. We put a teaspoon of coconut oil in the French press and a generous sprinkling of cayenne pepper, cinnamon, and cocoa powder, as well as a splash of milk for instant drinkability. Anyway, there's 6 hours of the F2 there. Let's take it to the last image. The ionosphere is looking a little bit discharged on the nighttime side, otherwise nothing too anomalous going on there. Last 24 hours of earthquakes, starting at just about 24 hours ago, we see a 4.5 magnitude quake very far south in the western portion of South America at El Salvador. I apologize, Central America. That's funny, I was just looking at El Salvador on the map this morning. 4.9 at Chile. Why click it once when you can click it thrice? There's that quake far south in South America. Next we see a 630 kilometer deep quake at a 5.3 magnitude at Fiji. Check the location of that one, as it's at extreme depth over 600 kilometers. Located kind of in between Fiji and Tonga there. A regular spot for deep quakes. And going back to the list, by the way, that deep quake came in at 10:43 UT. Next we see a 5.4 at Iran, followed by a 4.5 at the Carlsberg Ridge. Out in the western Indian Ocean there. And here's a pretty decent quake off the coast of Oregon. Let's check the location of that one. It's a 4.6 magnitude off of Oregon, and we've seen quakes there in the past couple of months. That quake not at depth. And we've got a lot of small quakes on the list here. We're still seeing a 7 magnitude earthquake drought, or if you're in a zone where earthquakes are common, be prepared. Be an asset, not a liability in the event of a disaster. Next on the list is a 4.4 at the Philippines. Got to speed this up as there are a lot of quakes on the list. 4.8 at Tonga's. Next, this one coming in at 1513 UT. Next, a 4.2 in the Timor Sea, just north of Australia. Here's a deep quake at Vanuatu, 180 kilometers depth, 4.4 magnitude. Here's a 5.4 magnitude at Indonesia. That's western Indonesia. Here's a 4.9 at Indonesia. Looks like an aftershock. Here's a 4.8 at India. That one is at depth. 4.9 at Burma, 4.5 at Tonga, 5.8 at Tonga. That one north of the island, it looks like. Let's actually take a look at that one. Clicking everything at least 2 times today, folks. Why click it once when you can click it multiple times? It's fun. It's fun stuff. Anyway, this one's actually closer to Samoa than to Tonga. No idea why they document them that way. No idea. And back to the list. And that's the last quake. That one coming in about 5 hours ago at 4:18 UT. Let's look at the pressure maps on windy.com. By the way, windy.com has a wonderful mobile app. It's got all kinds of data that you can look at from your smartphone. And there's the pressure situation. We'll let that advance one day. And there's where things will be in about 24 hours, at least from when we made this video. And at the time, it's currently 4:50 a.m. Do you know where your pressure is? And let's head to Volcano Discovery for the daily volcano rundown. Shivaluch, still exploding, still producing a 12,000 foot ash plume. Abiko, 12,000 foot ash plume there. Aso, 8,000 foot ash plume there. Sakurajima, 8,000 foot ash plume there. Dakono, 7,000 foot ash plume there. Metis Shoal at Tonga, intermittent eruption, no ash identified there. So that's a new one. We've been seeing it appear once in a while on the list sporadically, as it's been sporadically erupting. Popocatépetl, still exploding, 21,000 foot plume there. Revenador exploding, 14,000 foot plume there. Sabancaya, 26,000 explosive ash plume there. Exploding also is Copihu in Argentina. 13,000 foot ash plume there in Argentina. Nevados de Chilean also exploding, 14,000 foot ash plume. Please do not pole vault Nevados de Chilean, although if you look at the video 2 days ago, we did put some pole vault poles for our viewers who are interested in pole vaulting volcanic calderas. Not really recommended. Here's where the planets are and so on. There's where they'll be in 1 week, just coming off of the new moon, as Mercury and Venus are sneaking up. And here's where stuff is above my head. Actually, let's refresh that. There's where stuff is above my head. It's 452. Do you know where your high mass X-ray binaries are? Were you aware that Deneb is the North Celestial Pole at the other end of the precessional cycle? Were you aware? Anyway, here's the global lightning maps. And if you want to check this out yourself, go to lightningmaps.org when you hear thunder. And it's good times. Here's the U.S. Doppler radar, courtesy of Weather Underground. And there's the current situation in the U.S. See a convergence line stretching from West Virginia all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, and some anomalous data down there. And here's the U.S. water vapor map. If you're wondering where those systems are headed, this should give you some idea. And you can see that dry air going across the central and south central U.S. is slowly pushing its way to the east. And let's look at this convergence zone here over the southwestern Gulf. Just take a note of this water. This water is moving at a very high rate of speed. It's an upside-down atmospheric river, folks. And those two systems are going to combine, and it's going to make for some moist conditions, let's just say. And let's move on to more stuff, like the jet streams. And there are the jet streams of the Western world. It looks like they're going to be in for some cold weather in northwestern Africa. Look at that extreme meridional jet stream flow right there. 180-degree bend in the jet stream, creating some unseasonably cold temperatures in places like Morocco. Anyway, here are the eastern jets as well. Let that load. And we see doubled up jet streams in the south and extreme meridional jet stream flow in the north. Here's the polar view of the north. Starting to consolidate into a more coherent overall jet stream, finally, after an entire summer of convective forces canceling out anything resembling a jet stream. And welcome to the That Is Censored and That Is Sinkhole, where we talk about anything. We may even talk about all dressed Ruffles potato chips. We're going to do a review of them later today, hopefully. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. I'm going to talk about the ozone layer. The ozone hole shrinks to the smallest size on record, and it's not related to global warming. Well, let me get one sentence into the article before it starts talking about global warming. Thanks to unusually warm temperatures high above Antarctica this month, the ozone hole shrank to its smallest size on record, scientists reported Monday. We've left links to this article in the description. You'll see it all over the newswire all day today. And, you know, the holes in the ozone layer were blamed in the 1980s on CFCs. And I have no comment on there, as I didn't do the science. So anyway, check out the article, and please leave a comment if you heard it here first, as again, it's going to be all over every science YouTube channel and every science publication all day long. Let's talk about central banks. Now, a lot of folks think that the Federal Reserve Bank, the U.S. central bank, is part of the government. And as you can see from this Venn diagram, the Central Bank of U.S. and Italy are both privately held organizations. Now, we knew who owned the Federal Reserve when it was first formed. It was a series of various large banking interests in the U.S., such as J.P. Morgan Bank, Chase, Metropolitan Life Insurance Company Bank, However, since over the past 100+ years, actually 106 years, as the Federal Reserve was formed in 1913, signed into law on December 23rd, while everybody was trying to get ready for Christmas by Woodrow Wilson. Thanks, Woodrow! Anyway, we used to know who owned the Federal Reserve, and through a series of acquisitions over the past 106 years, now we don't know anymore, because there's all kinds of different stakeholders and shareholders and controlling interests in the ownership of these banks. And so if you think the U.S. Federal Reserve is part of the government, sorry, it's not true. Now, if you want to see which ones are part of governments, here's the central banking publicization, which swept Europe. You can see the Reserve Bank in New Zealand was actually the first one to nationalize in 1935. Bank of England nationalized in 1946. Anyway, it's an interesting article about the Federal Reserve, the real creator of boom and bust cycles, as these banking cartels utterly interfere in the economy by artificially controlling interest rates. Now, markets should control interest rates. And by the way, if you weren't aware, the Federal Reserve has resumed its quantitative easing process, expanding its balance sheet and injecting more money into the supply. So in addition to rising prices because of things like food scarcity, you can expect to see additional rising prices due to the devaluation of your currency, as inflation is really the ultimate tax, as it disproportionately affects the poor, as companies like junkware manufacturers like Facebook and Google and Apple and Twitter, they use these low interest rates to artificially inflate their stock price by paying people in the form of stock instead of cash. And I won't comment anymore, but links to this article also below the video. Do you enjoy the content on YouTube? If so, please press like and subscribe. Thanks to our new subscribers. And please share on your social media. Press the notification bell. View the premieres live with us. We try to sit there and chat every time we premiere a new video. And please help to support the channel, as we are in our infancy right now. You're on the ground level. So thanks, patrons, especially. For those of you who don't like Patreon, you can donate on PayPal. Those of you who are in the market for CBDs, you can go to the links below the video to get some Hemp Lucid CBD products via our affiliate link. Help to support the channel that way. Help to increase your health. Maybe get off a prescription drug. Maybe reduce inflammation. Maybe get off pain medications. Who knows? Hemp Lucid CBDs, where we've created a spaced out campaign specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. But mainly, please support the channel via Patreon, as that's our main source of income. YouTube pays us precisely nothing for these videos, and they've got a different excuse for why every week. So those ads that you're seeing are benefiting YouTube and Google, not this channel. So check out patreon.com/smAsho and get updates about things like coronal mass ejections before NOAA or NASA will provide them for you. As the last 3 we reported before anybody else, and the last one nobody reported at all. So thanks again, Smash team, all of you who view and leave comments and so on. We greatly appreciate it. Let's move on to more stuff like bonus features. Are you familiar with Leo Fong? Now, a more gorgeous man has never been seen. You want to see him in a movie? Well, we're going to cover it. But first, let's talk about powerful jets from supermassive black holes. It looks like there's some progress being made in the world of astrophysics. So welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, folks. It's a great time for science, as a lot of junk science, non-science, and BS are being rewritten before your very lives. Anyway, it's really just about simulations, folks, and it's how the jets from the supermassive black holes are disrupted by the motion of hot gas in galaxies, preventing gas from cooling. In other words, we don't see star formation on the jets. The jets are too energetic, and that's why we see star formation at the ends of these massive radial lobes, such as Cygnus A, the radio galaxy that we spent a lot of time looking at on the electric view conversation that we had a couple days ago on Sunday. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. And stay tuned for some bonuses. Now, let's get back to Liu Fong. Now, if you want to see a lot of screen time, a lot of luscious shots of this hunk's face, well, there you go. Now, Grandmaster Liu Fong hasn't stopped with his martial arts. Let's talk about a movie from 1984, which you can view right here on YouTube, by the way. Killpoint, starring Liu Fong, Richard Roundtree as an FBI agent, Cameron Mitchell, one of our favorite bad movie action heroes. So yeah, check out Killpoint, and we have linked to it below the video. Here's a clip. I'm not sure what this is going to be. It's basically just random, but it's a crazy movie that could never be made nowadays. Back in 1984,
you fill this up. Fill it up. Let's go.
Back in 1984, nobody cared about anything, and I would try to get you another luscious shot of Liu Fong's face, but I can't find any. Anyway, check out Killpoint if you're into bad movies. We're going to do a review of it. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't even score it, but the audience score only gives it an 18. It is a bad movie, and it is indeed hilarious. And here's the colorized magnetogram. I just wanted to show you this little plage down here. It does show up as a bright region in most of the other views. That is a cycle 25 activity there. Although super weak solar activity. We are out of here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, share on your social media. Encourage your friends, foes, science nerds, astrophysicists, aliens, extraplanar entities, or anybody else interested in the videos to watch. And remember, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink, and if you drink, stare at the sun anyway, just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.